name is Sky and I'd love to be your new favorite painting teacher. Happy Valentine's Day weekend! In today's tutorial, join me to create Lover's Bridge. I'll take you through it every step of the way. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. Hello again, beautiful artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Sky, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sky and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials like this one here to YouTube twice a month on the second and fourth Saturdays of the month. Make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along with us. This week we are fast approaching Valentine's Day, so I wanted to do a romantic Valentine's Day themed painting for us today. And we have done in the past another version of a bridge at fall. So this is like a springtime bridge, and it's going to be extra romantic with our little couple and gorgeous spring blossoms. I'm going to take you through it every step of the way. I'm going to show you the materials that I have before we get started. So I like to use 3 brushes, typically that are these sizes in my classes. Your brushes don't need to be the exact same size and shape and brand, but they should be the same general size and shape and made for a water media. So this first one that I use is a size 16. It's about 3/4 inch wash brush. So it's a flat, wide brush. And then I have 2 pointed brushes that I use, a size 8 and a size 4 right now. Again, general sizes is fine. I have a sort of a medium-sized one and then a smaller detail brush. I have a full rainbow of colors on my piece of palette paper. So I have some phthalo green, some cobalt blue, cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, and cadmium red, and a little bit of black and white. To see a full materials list of everything that you need to paint along, check the description box below. It'll show you the colors for today's tutorial, but it will also have a link to my materials page on my website, which is skypratt.com, SKYEPRATT.com. You can click on the materials page and it'll break it down for you, everything that you need to paint along. Okay, let's get started with our background step. I'm gonna grab my medium-sized brush. I'm going to sort of space things out before we get going. And I'm going to use a very light gray and just do a quick couple passes. And I'm going to do sort of a disjointed horizon line. And this is because, of course, in the middle, we're going to have our river. And on one side, I'm going to just do a really simple sort of curve brush stroke. This isn't the bridge yet. This is going to be the mountains behind. That's sort of like the bank, and then we have the sort of mountains, or hills, I suppose I should say. And I'm going to have the sort of hillside come down till about the halfway point, and then something similar on the other side, and I'm going to come a little bit lower down than that first horizon so that I have a little bit of like a winding river effect. So maybe we can actually a little bit further down. Just sort of spacing things out and adjusting them right now. And then this will also sort of curve. Maybe that's a little too steep. All right, and then I'm going to connect my horizon line to the other side. This is going to be where our water is, and then these two are going to be our banks of the river. Okay, and since we have sort of a whole like forest of trees situation, I'm going to do a few other hillsides sort of going back into the distance too. So we have like a whole scene now. Now we just have to fill it in. This will all make more sense once we fill in all of our different sections. It's okay if things are looking a little bit wonky right now. This is just sort of like a sketch layer. Okay, I'm going to grab my large square wash brush, and I'm going to start at the top, work my way down, and I'm of course going to make things very whimsical, a little bit romantic. I'm going to start with some pink, sort of right in the middle of my sky. Okay, and then I'm going to sneak a tiny little pinch of blue into my pink to make a quick purple too. You could use purple out of a bottle, but we only need a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. A little bit darker. Okay. Just for a little bit of sort of purpley blue sky. And then I have a lot of water in my brush. I'm going all the way across the side, off the side, all the way across and off the side of my canvas. And then bring it fair bit down, and then I'm going to rinse my brush. Come in with a little bit of orange. I always use more white than I use other colors. I'm going to put that orange right on top of the red. I'm not going to bring it too far down because I want to end up at yellow. And in fact, that area is a little bit tight. So I'm going to grab a smaller brush for a little bit more control. And I'm going to mix up a light yellow and come right where the two mountains meet in this lovely little fantasy landscape. And bring that right up to my orange and into my orange. Don't be afraid to go into the color. The idea is not necessarily to do stripes. If stripes are all that you can end up with, I forgive you. But try, give it a try. Get in there. Don't be scared. Blend your colors together. This is an analogous color scheme here with these warm colors. So you're not going to get too muddy with your blending. So it's good blending practice. Give it a try. Okay, moving on. Okay, and then working from the top down, I'm going to take a little pinch of green and I'm going to mix this into my mixture I already have of yellow and white. I might take a little pinch of a warm color, like maybe some orange, just a tiny little pinch to tone it down a little bit. And I'm going to start with what's going to be the mountain that's furthest away. Now, as things recede into the background, they look lighter in color. So that's going to be a nice, simple, subtle way to create depth. Okay, and a little bit. So red is the opposite of green, so you can neutralize your color a little bit, make it a little less bright. And have a little bit more saturated of a version of that light green. So you can see it's a little bit darker, maybe a tiny pinch of black too. Not too much black. A little bit of black goes a long way with these light colors. We want to have a nice seamless transition. No gap in between our mountain and our sunset, so that's why we're working from the top down. Okay, now I have my two side sections and the water. So in the same kind of way, I'm going to do a little bit of a darker version of green. But I still want it to be pretty vibrant because in the spring, colors get pretty vibrant. Love that about the spring. Okay, we're going to go right along the water's edge. and fill in over the gray. Too much black. There we go. I'm sort of taking my brush strokes and fanning them out. And within that triangular shape. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. And after that, we'll just have our water. Mix up a bit more green for my section. What's fun about these sunset blossom greenery and water paintings that I have a couple of is that they use the full spectrum of the rainbow. So we've almost made our way through. We just have the water left, which will of course be blue. And I'm actually thinking that this side is a little bit wide. So let me narrow it out just a bit. I want to make sure that it looks like my bridge is connecting properly. Same thing with down here. A little bit less of a distance for our bridge to cross. I've got some nice natural variation within my brush strokes. That's just from not over rinsing my brush. Okay, last section, and then we'll have everything filled in with color. Going to take some blue, last color of our rainbow, and I'll start very light. And I'm just going to very daintily start at the top, and I want my brush strokes to go horizontal, but I sort of have to lay them down first. So what I'm going to do is get the color in there, and then I'll come back and sort of tidy up my brush stroke directions, because you want it back and forth. And I want it to be a little bit lighter in the background. And then we're going to fill this whole front section in. And I think I'll go ahead and grab my big square brush for that. Might as well. Back and forth, brush strokes, building our river. I always find it very satisfying to get that first layer of color on. Okay. We'll add highlights and shadows in a second step. It's okay that it's a little darker than where I want to take it, but right now there's color in every section. We've sort of laid out our different areas. So let's take a step away and we'll let this layer dry, and we will come back and keep it on. All right. I'll see everyone in a few. Okay, welcome back. We have a dry first layer, and I also put some more fresh white on my palette paper. But otherwise, I still have the same colors. So we're gonna do a few more things before we take another break. before we come back and do all of our silhouette work. So let's keep working with our gorgeous, colorful landscape though for a little bit. I'm going to start with some tree trunks. And I'm going to do these tree trunks in like a navy blue. And these are the ones that are like far off in the distance. I'm going to have sort of like little tiny up and down lines right along the horizon of your closest hill. And they're slightly different heights and they're going to get taller as you go. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, and whatever you feel comfortable with, you can go from the top down or from the bottom up. They're gonna look a little weird right now, like some burnt forest or something. I'm going to go right underneath with that same bluish gray and do a little bit of shadowing. That's also gonna look a little weird. I know sometimes my hand blocks things. So the results of having one camera. This is a one-woman operation and I work full-time too. So we've tried the two cameras, camera one, camera two. I wish I had a whole studio set up with people actually filming it and the assistants and the ability to switch back and forth and many hours to edit. But alas, I do not. So just bear with me. It kind of comes together. I teach live too, so you know those people don't tend to come right up to an inch away and watch intently as I move my brush. So same idea, it comes together one step at a time. I've mixed up a light pink now. I'm going to start with my petals. And I'm going to tap right along the tops of those trees that I just built. Tap, 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 all along the top. Okay, and I forgot to add a few branches here and there too. So let me switch back to my tiny brush because I wanted to do a few of these little side guys. Really just makes a big difference, I think. Use plenty of paint and kind of overlap your brush strokes and you'll get that sort of natural look. But this is mostly just the background still, so don't get too caught up. See, we're just sort of building a distant forest. And I'm adding a little bit of deliberate color variation. And I forgot my branches over here too, a couple quick little branches. There we go. Okay, great. And then I'm going to grab my medium-sized brush again. I'm going to do a few things. So first thing, I really want to add some really light blue. Just a little whiff of blue, mostly white. And come in right in the center and add some back and forth brush strokes so that I get a nice shiny pond. Longer brush strokes in the front. Okay. And I want to also do a little bit of a highlight of green here on my hill. It's for like a little secondary coat of green. Yours might not need it. But I like the look of there being lots of different tones of green, so you can see just those little tiny touches can make a big difference. Okay, I think we can add our big trees now too. So I'm going to take more of that navy blue. It's really more of a gray. And along the side, I'm going to do 2 trees, and they're going to sort of come from that little front, riverfront area, bank of the river. But don't worry too much about the base of the tree because we're going to cover that with the bridge. This reminds me of Bob Ross's Happy Trees. It's a little scary to add a big tree right through your lovely composition that you just worked so hard on. But sometimes you just gotta have a tree. It's gonna all add to the sort of canopied effect that our lovers are experiencing. So just starting with the big brush strokes and working our way to the smaller branches. And we're gonna give our tree a friend on the other side. It's gonna pull the pink right through, and that's okay. Since we're working with such a dark color, should be able to still get some pretty good coverage. And sometimes things just need a second coat. So if anything is see-through or looking a little weird, just know you can always add a second coat. And then also we're gonna be looking kind of bare at first with our trees since we don't have the blossoms on them yet. But let's take this opportunity to take a little bit of highlights through the branches. I just have a little bit of gray on my brush. Nice scene. And then I'm going to also do my first layer of blossoms on my trees in the foreground too. So I want to just mix up a nice sort of dark pink to start. It's a little bit more saturated than my background pink. And I'm just doing this all with my medium-sized brush. Little clumps all over your tree. A little bit of variation to a darker red looks nice. We're gonna add some highlights in a minute. This is a pretty peaceful fantasy landscape, if you ask me. Okay, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a lighter pink right on top and just get those colors to mix a little bit. But I've used a lot of colors on my palette and I've worked very hard, as you all have. So let's call this first layer good. Take a little bit of a breather. I'm adding a little bit of white on the background. Can't help myself. Can't stop. Can't pull away. Okay, stepping away. Letting this layer dry. Trust me, it really helps to sort of clear your mind and step away for a minute and come back to the project. You'll see things that you want to add, and we'll of course come back and add our bridge and couple piece de la resistance of this painting. But take a little step away for a minute, let this layer dry, and I'm gonna get a fresh piece of palette paper too, and I'll see everyone in a couple minutes. Okay, welcome back to our final portion. We're going to finish things up with some black and white, and I also put a little bit more cadmium red on my palette paper to touch up my blossoms. You can put any other colors that you need to touch up on your palette paper. It's never too late to go back and fix something if you want. I also found that I have a slightly smaller brush. So this is a really small one. This is a size 1. And if you're using the same kit I am, then it came with this. So go grab your tiny brush if you have it, or if you have a tiny brush. I recommend also practicing the silhouette before you add it onto the painting on a piece of paper or something. I've done this once before and kind of learned through the process. You could also use a paint pen. This works just fine as well, whatever you're comfortable with. Use your smallest, tiniest brush. But before we add our couple, let's add the bridge. So I'm going to grab whatever brush you're most comfortable with. I'm gonna grab this second to smallest. And I'm gonna come in with a light gray first. And my bridge, I wanna center it, of course, kind of above the water, and like have the highest point be right in the center. So let me start with doing just like a little bit of a horizontal line. And then I'm going to gently slope my way down on one side and slope my way down on the other side. I can already tell it's a little bit wonky, but we will correct things as we fill in. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a parallel line. You don't want to go too thick with your bridge. That might even be too thick. Well, too late now. I guess we're gonna go fairly thick with our bridge. And then I'm going to sort of slope over a little bit more gently. So we actually want like a deeper V on the bottom. Come back and adjust things a little bit. So I'm actually gonna go further down here with the slope. And let's grab a medium-sized brush and start filling in so that we can see a little bit better what we're working with now. So I'm just gonna take a medium gray. We're going to fill in that whole shape. We want to have a gray that's a little bit lighter than the one that we used on our trees so that we can see a little bit of a contrast. Doesn't have to be perfect, but take your time, trying to keep things tidy and balanced from one side to the other. Okay, and the two sides have met. Going for as even of a half circle shape on the bottom as possible. Looks pretty good. Okay, now the way that I'm going to do this with acrylics, it's often good to go from the background to the foreground. So we're going to sort of do that. So there it would be standing on the bridge, and you'd see their silhouette, and then you see the bridge, but then we'd have a railing in the front. So the railing is closer to us than the couple are. So we'll do the railing last. So for now, so we have our base of our bridge, so we know where we're going with it. And now, dun dun dun, I'm gonna grab my little brush and I'm going to tackle the big couple. Tackle them down. Okay, let's grab black. Be careful. And the way I liked to start for my last one was with her skirt, kind of like her waist, so that we can see about where they're standing. So if you kind of think about, if you're standing on a bridge and the railing is about at your waist, as a lady, about how high up that would be. So I'm going to do sort of a rectangular shape that's sort of triangular. And then I'm going to build her torso up from there as that sort of hourglass shape. I'm going to move the waist up a little bit. And then he's also going to have a sort of hourglass shape, but a little bit more boxy. So he's a man, presumably. You could do two ladies or two gentlemen, too, of course. And we're going to see the pants. Okay, and then I'm not worried about the arms yet. Do a neck and a head on either person. Building our human shape as we go. Okay, and then why don't we do like his arm is around her. I was gonna do holding hands, but they're really close together. And maybe her arm goes like that, and his is down at his side. Okay, so that is a fairly good starting point. And then I'm just going to fill in I think I've made them a little bit too big relative to the bridge. So I'm thinking about doing some adjusting. The bottom, you can do a hand by just doing like a little kind of brush stroke like that. That's not the cutest couple I've ever seen in my life, but it's not bad. Let's do her arm on his back. That'll be cute. And we need to give him a little bit of a hairdo. And she should, of course, have some cute flowing locks. She got a little bit more boxy than I would have liked. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of a correction. And I might need to pull some blue on my palette, but for now I'm just going to take a little bit of white and just tuck her waist in. That looks pretty good without needing some blue. I think we can go with that. We can work with that. The thing about these tiny brushes is they're handy, but they can drip, so be careful. Okay, so I've got my little couple. Let me take my bridge a little bit further down so it makes a little bit more sense that they have enough depth to stand at that height. I would recommend this is a good time to flip your painting upside down and see from that perspective. Okay, that looks a little better. Now I said we're going to do the railing last. So let's leave our couple alone for just a moment. I want to have them shoulder to shoulder almost. Okay. Grab my medium-sized brush again. I'm going to do a few things with a nice bright light pink. So I'm going to have a little bit more depth added because my blossoms need it. Might want to take them out a little bit further in some areas. I think a really cute touch would be also to have some leaves falling, and maybe this one is shaped like a heart. Cute little final details, everyone. A little bit of a even lighter white on our back little forest guys. These trees look better when they're nice and full. So don't be shy. Add plenty. Okay, our very final touch is going to be the railing, which is an important step because it has some really cute hearts. So let's let this dry one last time. We've been so patient on this one. So good job if you're painting along. Being patient, let's take one last minute to let this dry, and then we'll come back and add our railing, okay? Last step in a few. Okay, final part will be our railing. And this should be pretty simple to do. Let's start also with a medium gray, and I'm going to use my second to smallest brush. And I'm going to come up maybe about a little less than waist high. And I'm just going to create a parallel line to the top part of the bridge. Going to try my best to keep it even, but it's okay if it's a little bit wonky. It happens. Okay, and then, let's see, I think I would prefer my smaller brush since I have it. I'm going to take a lighter gray, and I'm going to come in and make the railing hearts, but I'm going to do a pattern where it's like a heart and then it's a straight up and down line. And I want my straight up and down lines to stay straight up and down rather than go with the curve of the railing. So staying like this rather than going like this. I think that adds another whimsical and romantic touch. Sort of tidying things up as I go. This would be like wrought iron. So sort of curlicue. A very romantic bridge. It's sort of giving like K-drama, right? I just started watching those. Okay, cute. Let's add a few highlights throughout. Especially where they are, so that we can see some contrast. That looks a little better. Just gonna take a light hand and a quick pass through along the top and bottoms, and maybe accentuate a few curves. And I'm going to take a darker pass with my medium brush on the bottom part, almost black, just to sort of marry, if you will, the black silhouette of the couple. Okay, and we do a couple little black streaks in the bridge too, but I wanted it like weathered more than stripy, so I need to add some more gray back to tone things down a little bit. But we have now our lover's bridge with our cute couple standing under the falling cherry blossoms. If you painted along with me today, I would love to see your work. And I've created a Facebook group called the Art Club that's free to join, that you can come and share pictures of your masterpiece with me and the other students that are taking the classes. There's a link in the description box below to join that. I like to leave the final touches to be like the lightest highlights and darkest shadows. So I want to add actually a little tiny bit of white in a few places along my blossoms. Okay, there we go. I think it's very appropriate for Valentine's Day. Let me know what you thought of this painting in the comments section below. Please hit like if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and join us over in the